Joining us out of Calgary now is Mr. Robert Inlakesh, political analyst. Hello, Robert. It's a pleasure to have you back on the program. Your thoughts on the recent escalation we're seeing here today?
Well, of course, Israel are trying to punish the civilian population of the Gaza Strip and provoke some sort of response out of Hamas. The population in Israel have been pushing for a war lately, very much so because of the kites that have been flown over the crossing into Israel, burning some of their land. So they thought it would be a great idea to tighten the already illegal blockade of the Gaza Strip by restricting even basic things like clothing items from getting in and out, killing the trade, killing the industry. UNRWA, the Palestinian Refugee Agency, is basically being destroyed because of lack of funding. Over 80% of the civilian population of the Gaza Strip are dependent upon this international aid. Of course, there were demonstrations this Friday in which Israel shot a 15-year-old boy on camera dead. Israeli snipers did that. And then Israel also executed an 18-year-old who died later of his wounds, injured around 100 people. And because the kites keep flying across into Israeli territory and they don't stop, and they are not a Hamas initiative, they're an initiative of the people who are flying it over, they respond by announcing Friday night, late Friday, that they will launch airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. Then they launched airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. Hamas responded, and there have been tit for tat during the night, and then it occurred again during the day, and they killed 2 children, a 15 and a 16-year-old, injured many people, all civilians, none Hamas, none Islamic Jihad members, every single one civilians. And right now, we're waiting to hear news. There was a report that emerged that a family is trapped underneath the rubble, so we don't know what's happening there.
Yet, Robert, Tel Aviv claims that all these people are always Hamas. Every time the West or any kind of corporate media outlet reports on this, Tel Aviv is quick to respond that we're only targeting Hamas positions. But you mentioned 15-year-olds, 16-year-old kids. Are they all Hamas? The 18-year-olds, are they all Hamas? Are all unarmed protesters, nearly 150 of them? And my next question to you, Benjamin Netanyahu turns around and says this is the most painful strike since the 2014 war on Gaza. There's a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and another 16-year-old that perished in the last couple of days. But there's another 150 people nearly that have perished, a lot of teenagers in there, and women as well, journalists and, medics, in the Great March of Return rallies. How is that not painful? Is this almost adding insult to injury by calling this isolated case painful, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu?
Everything they've done since 2014 has been extremely painful, and the conditions have only got worse and worse. People say that a war is the only thing that's painful to the Gaza Strip. I mean, like you noted just then, more than 140 people were killed during the Great Return March, 7 weeks of non-violent demonstrations where Hamas did not fire a single rocket or a single mortar or a single bullet at the Israeli entity. And in that case, nobody acted, nobody did a thing. And they claim that they're targeting these Hamas positions, like you just said. This is their justification for what they're doing. They cannot target Hamas positions because Hamas work underground. The only way they could possibly target a Hamas position above ground is if they target areas where they've shot from. But are Hamas going to be so stupid as to fire a rocket from an area, and these are just scrap metal fireworks, glorified fireworks that never do a thing. They fire it from an area. Are they going to then remain in that area and wait around for the Israeli rockets to fall on them? No, of course they're not. The only way they can do it is for a ground invasion to inflict any sort of damage on Hamas, or to completely flatten Gaza City in order to unveil the tunnel system. They can't. They cannot strike Hamas. It's rubbish, garbage every time. The civilian population are suffering. Hamas don't suffer when the blockade is tightened significantly. They have the electricity all day. They have food all day. The Gaza civilian population are the one that suffer in every single instance. It's not against Hamas. And if they want to launch another war against Hamas, then this time the Israeli population are looking for a strike. So we can expect tens of thousands, possibly, of civilians to die in order to inflict any blow against Hamas. They are not inflicting. They cannot. They're underground. They have to go for a ground invasion. They won't do it because they're scared of they're scared of losses of their soldiers because they're cowards and they are not capable of fighting Hamas on the ground.
Thank you for your perspective again. One more time on the program. It's Robert Inlakesh, political analyst, joining us there out of Calgary, Canada.